Welcome to the All About You podcast, and today my guest is Jan, and he's written a book about his experience of being a digital nomad. Jan, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much.
So Jan, first of all, can we start off by talking about what is a digital nomad?
Yeah, is there a definition for a digital nomad? Yeah, for sure. But let me give my own opinion on it. The nomad part is someone who is traveling from A to B. For me, it's important that not only the travel to, but even the being in. So, for instance, when I lived here in Valencia or when I lived in the past in Malaga, I like to be for a few months part of the society, part of the city. So for me, the travel is really a way to go from one city to the other. So it's traveling, it's being on the way, it's feeling free. And the digital part is, even I have to earn money. I don't have an employer, I don't have a company to work for, I work for myself. And all the work I'm doing, everything is digital. So going back to history, almost 20 years ago, I made a decision. I want to work location independent. So work from every place in the world wherever there is electricity and internet. From that moment, I was working on this, that I have work, that I'm earning money with or through the internet. And that's the digital part of it. Working from any place in the world, if it is Mongolia or Uruguay or Malaga or South Africa, working in a digital way for a company. Yeah, let's say for yourself, but for your customers.
I think the interesting thing about digital nomad now is probably after the pandemic, so many people were working from home, really pushed like the digital nomad type thing, because people all of a sudden were not in the office, they were working from home. Life carried on in one form or another with people doing that. And then I think a lot of people thought, okay, well, if I can work from home, I can work in a local coffee shop, and companies were like, okay, that's fine. And then it's just such an accepted thing now that people are working online, countries all over the world, situations, different businesses. It has really, I think, exploded because of the pandemic.
The answer is no.
That's interesting.
That's interesting. The only thing is, what happened after the pandemic is that now it's known by everybody. Now it's visible. Now you know that it is existing. When I started 20 years ago with my thoughts to be location independent, in fact, that was the start of being a digital nomad. The word digital nomad absolutely wasn't existing at that moment. Before the pandemic, I was traveling to South America, to wherever. There were a lot of digital nomads. Thailand, Chiang Mai, was absolutely the heaven for digital nomads. So yes, it was existing. Yes, there were already a lot. The only thing is, with the pandemic, now everybody knows that it's possible. I haven't seen before or after the pandemic more digital nomads before or after. I think the numbers are about the same. It's only that we all know about it and that we all accept it. In the past, I have to explain to all my customers that I was traveling, but always online. You can reach me always, blah, 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 blah. But they always thought that I was on holiday. No, I'm not on holiday. I'm living in another part of the world, but I'm normally working from here. This kind of explanations are, since the pandemic, not necessary anymore. When you tell to a customer, okay, I'm living in Spain, then it's like, oh, okay, do it, accept it. So I think that's the pandemic brought this.
I think that's very true. As you say, maybe for someone like me, it's more visible. You go to a cafeteria here in Spain and there's always somebody sitting with their laptop, and a lot of cafes, etc., are set up for it now. So that's interesting. So it's always been out there, but it's more visible to like the rest of us. Yeah,
That's the difference. When you saw before the pandemic someone in a bar or wherever with a laptop, then you didn't realize at that moment, hey, maybe he's working online. But now, when someone is working in a cafe or whatever, then you think, maybe he's a digital nomad.
It's so funny, you've reminded me, I probably went to a cafe maybe 5 or 6 years ago to meet a friend. And it's the first time I'd been to this cafe, and I walked in and I sort of looked around, and every single person was working on their computer. And I just looked at the people in the bar, and I sort of said to the waiter, I know it's a stupid question, but why is everybody working on their computer? He said, we cater for digital nomads. Okay, so I'm the only one here who's meeting a friend. She said, that's absolutely fine. But I was shocked how many people were slaving away over a hot computer.
And now it's absolutely normal.
It is everywhere.
Yeah, it's everywhere. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad we've cleared that up. Okay, so let's go back to the book then. Why did you decide to write this book?
About 20 years ago I started, and from that moment so many things happened. From 2006 I was traveling through Hungary. I was living a few months in Hungary. I started to rent an apartment there. I bought my house in Hungary. When you are traveling, then you are seeing and experiencing a lot of things, meeting people from all over the world, seeing new things, and that was building up in my mind. So I'm a kind of talkative, so always talking to people. It was, do you know that there and there is this and that, and have you seen this here, and have you been in this village there, and by the way I have an anecdote like this. The book, the Dutch version of the book I wrote 3 years ago, it was accumulating in my head all these stories, and many people said to me at that moment, you have to write it down. For what reason? But 3 years ago I thought, maybe I have a lot of funny stories, and maybe I have a lot of funny things to say and to tell. So that's why I decided to start writing it down, just to inspire people to be a digital nomad, starting to inspire people with this. And therefore I started to write a book. So that's the story behind it.
And how did you find that writing process? I mean, did you go straight to writing on your computer, or did you start with a little notebook, put in a few notes here and there, and then trying to sort of put it in some kind of logical order? Or
no, I started before the pandemic. I already started directly with the computer, because notes is with pen and paper, isn't it?
Yes.
That's old.
I'm old.
That's old.
Yeah,
that's old technology. Okay. So notes never. So it's always directly on the computer. I started before the pandemic. In the pandemic, I think I started 3 or 4 times, and then I met my nowadays partner Sylvia, and of course, I met her 4 years ago, and I started to tell to her, and even that I wanted to write a book. And in one or the other moment, the whole idea was there. I have to write it down in a book. And Sylvia was stimulating this. And from the moment I really decided, now it has to be a book. I remember the first thing was, when I'm thinking, the first time was, it was 11 o'clock in the evening. We were already in bed. Sylvia was talking about the book. The first ideas came, and my mind was blowing. It was absolutely so much adrenaline in my blood that I couldn't sleep for the rest of the night. Get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and started to write. And this I continued for a few weeks. Every morning at 5 o'clock I was absolutely clearly awake, because then there were 1,000 ideas I wanted to write about. So that is the way I made the book. Absolutely being crazy, like now I have to write it, now all the stories are popping up now. And with Sylvia I have really a beautiful partner in this, a sparring partner, because I could ask her and tell her, I want to write this or that, hey, why don't you do it in this way or in that way. First I wanted to write 2 books, one with my own experiences and the other one with tips and tricks for digital nomads. And later we said, okay, in the discussion came, no, it has to be one book. But when I look back to the book now, the book is exactly like the guy is. I start to tell a story. Halfway, I'm thinking about something, and it's immediately, hey, do you know this village? Do you know this city? There's this and that and that, and then a whole story in between. And then I continue the previous story. And halfway of that, it's like, I have something funny to tell you. And the book is, in my opinion, when I look back now, exactly the same. It's a story and then bang, an anecdote. It's a story and then bang, a tip. It's a story and then bang, pictures or whatever. So this way of creating the book was absolutely made with the support of Sylvia and the being the sparring partner of how to write it and what to write, etc., etc. The funny thing is, I wrote the book in Dutch, and with Sylvia, we are talking always in English. So even Sylvia couldn't read the book and couldn't read it or correct me or whatever. So the only thing she could be the sparring partner.
The way that you said you were talking about the book, and then you were just like so excited that you couldn't sleep. And then 5 o'clock you got up, and all these stories are all tumbling out of you, and you just kept on it. I mean, that is definitely the sign of a good book, isn't it?
Yeah, let's say at least it's a sign that I really wanted to write it. I told you maybe it won't never be a bestseller, but there is one thing I'm absolutely very proud, let's say, on myself, that at least there is a Dutch version of the book and there is an English version of the book. I'm happy that it is there. Even for me, looking back in the book, it's experiencing all the stories again, everything is coming back. When somebody else makes a picture book of all his travels, then let's say this is my picture book.
I think that's absolutely fantastic, because as you say, the way the book is written, it's your story, then it's all the little funny things that happened, but then there's lots of practical advice. If you're in this country or in this town, this is what you should go and see, because it's almost like 3 books in one, isn't it? Your experience and your life stories, encouraging people to have a go at being a digital nomad, and then it's all the tour guide stuff as well.
Yeah.
So let's look at some of the stories.
Yeah, something funny from the book. There are so many funny things. While traveling in foreign countries, I traveled by bike through Hungary. And Hungary has a very difficult language. It's absolutely impossible. I'm from the Netherlands.
And Sylvia is
from Hungary. And in 2006, I traveled 3 months by bike through Hungary. But that was far years before I met Sylvia, because I met Sylvia 4 years ago. So in 2006, I was traveling through the country. The foreign language knowledge in Hungary is absolutely not existing, almost not. Okay, now it's getting better and better. But in 2006, it was absolutely nothing. People were speaking only in Hungarian. The stories, I was at the train station. I wanted to go from A to B, but I had a bike with me with 6 bags on it. I think the bike plus the bags together were at least 60 kilos, say something. And it has to be carried into the train. But the trains in Hungary are absolutely not ready for bikes. So it's climbing in and put it up, and difficult. So I decided, from the place I decided to travel by train to Budapest, and from Budapest to my destination. But that was not the original plan. The railway company, no, I had to go from A to B, from B to C, so I have to change many times. But I thought, okay, I take the easy way and have fun with all your ideas. Then there came a lady from the train company. She asked my ticket, and she said, no, you can't be on this train because you have to go from A to B, all in Hungarian.
Oh my God.
All in Hungarian, blah, 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 blah. And then I thought, okay, what's the next step? To convince her that I'm really going from here to Budapest and from Budapest to my destination. And then the lady came. I felt her hands on my shoulder. She really turned me around and said to me in German, she asked me, what's going on here? I said, okay, that lady of the railway company wants that I travel like this, and I want to travel to Budapest. Oh, she said, wait a second. And she was absolutely shouting to the lady in Hungarian. Bah, 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 bah. The lady turned around and walked away. And then the girl said to me, okay, you are going with me. I tell you in which train station you are getting off. Then I tell you how you get to the next train station. This kind of stories saved your life. In a country where nobody speaks a proper, let's say only Hungarian, that are absolutely the moments to think back. Even there, people are saving your life.
I've never really been an adventurer at all. So somebody who's, okay, I'm going to travel around and I'm going to work, welcome all these experiences. I think that's absolutely amazing. And so many people are doing it now. And I think that is absolutely fantastic, because travel is the greatest education.
That's it. You learn so many things while traveling. It's not only experiencing a lot of things, but even learning, because there are always smaller or bigger issues, problems. There is always a challenge, like, okay, how to arrange this, buying a ticket, for instance, on a machine who's only speaking whatever language you don't understand. And from these kind of things you absolutely learn a lot.
Definitely, it's sort of pushing people out of their comfort zone. It's an education. They're experiencing different countries, different cultures, and obviously different languages. I mean, that's big. It's out there if you want to do it.
Yeah. Luckily, I learned it my son to do it in the same way. Let's say he's not really the digital nomad type, but the way he is traveling now with his partner, it's exactly the way I traveled in the past with him. And he has funny stories about that as well, that they wanted to go to Sicily. He said to his girlfriend, okay, we are renting only for one night a hotel and all the rest we will see. And Linda said, oh, no, we're going to plan everything. We're going to book everything. No, said Paul, no, that's not necessary. We will see there. Yeah, but Paul said, don't worry. I traveled always with my daddy in this way. And it was, we did it in this way. At 4 o'clock towards Thessaloniki in Greece. Paul, I think we reach it at 6 o'clock. Here's my cell phone. Can you book an apartment? And then he was looking, while driving, he was looking and, Daddy, I have an apartment here. Shall I book it? Yeah, okay, do it. So, luckily, I gave this to him as well.
Well, he had a very good teacher, didn't he? Obviously,
yeah.
He picked up your wanderlust gene, and he had a great teacher, as in you had gone before and done it.
Yeah. And we traveled together a lot, so, yeah.
It's so much easier now, isn't it? If you think people will travel with their phones, yes, you can arrive in a city, go on to one of these various websites, and you can find accommodation for that night. You know, that's quite simple now. And I do think there's sort of two types of people. There's somebody like you who I would just say, wing it, we'll go and we'll see, we'll find somewhere. Someone like myself, okay, show me the whole itinerary, you know, where am I every night, etc., etc. The world is opening up incredibly now. We've got everything on our phones, so you can rock up in a foreign country and go, okay, we'll find somewhere.
Yeah, but in 2006, when I traveled 3 months through Hungary, we didn't have a cell phone. I had a list with internet hotspots, so the places where there was in a cafe or a bar or a restaurant was the internet. So I traveled by bike from one hotspot to the other, and I couldn't book in advance a hotel or whatever. I had to go to that other village or city or whatever, and there trying to get an apartment. So the beginning of my digital nomad being wasn't through the internet searching all kinds of things. No. It was absolutely searching by yourself. By the way, when I traveled by bike through Hungary, I always had a sleeping bag in my luggage, because
there's always plan B.
There's always a plan B, and it always can happen that you don't have a place to stay.
I was going to say, I'm sure the sleeping bag got rolled out once or twice in the course of your travels.
Never.
Really? You never had to use it?
Never had to use it.
Wow, that's amazing.
Was always a place, and I always could find something. So I never used it.
Well, that is amazing. But it's interesting you saying sort of 20 years ago we didn't have mobile phones with all these booking sites, etc. You know, you really were right at the beginning of this digital nomad experience.
Absolutely, yeah.
And not knowing 20 years later all of these travelling would all be documented in the Dutch and the English version of the book.
Yeah. No, I was absolutely a pioneer in that, yeah.
You've written the book. Who is your ideal reader for the book? Is it somebody who loves travel, or do you think it is somebody who's like, okay, I work for a company, I can work anywhere, or I've got my own business? Who do you think your target reader is going to be?
I think that the target reader is the really wannabe digital nomad.
The wannabe
digital nomad.
Right.
And if he is going to be a digital nomad or never, at least he wants to be a digital nomad.
Yeah.
A lot of my travels, I made websites of it. Yeah, I'm a website creator, so it was easy to make a blog and pictures on it, etc., etc. And I had heard many times from people, even now when I be posting on Facebook, that I'm inspiring people, even people I really don't know or can't imagine that I inspire them. But they say, Jan, with your stories, with the blogs, with all the pictures, I travel a little bit with you. And are that the people who are really once will be a digital nomad? No, for sure not. But they like to see the life of someone who is near, what kind of life he is living. So I think that the majority will be the wannabe digital nomads, and who wants to learn how that life is and how it started.
But that's great though, isn't it, that you're sort of encouraging a new generation of people to travel and combine that with working. That is incredible.
Yep.
As you say, 20 years ago you started, and that is very, very different to how it is now with the mobile phone and getting information. But inspiring another generation through the stories in your book, that must make you incredibly proud.
That is absolutely, and I said already, I'm a kind of talkative, yes. So it's absolutely pushing one button about Jan, tell me something about your travels, and it's okay. The next 24 hours I can fill easily, but I'm happy that the book is there. That it's not only in my head, only gone with me, but that it's even there forever. And even when I'm retired, sitting in an elderly home and reading back my things, yeah, okay. No.
And what did your son think about you writing the book?
I think Paul never said something like, "Hey, wow." I think for Paul, it's absolutely, totally in line what I'm doing the last 20 years.
It's just pretty normal and natural, knowing the person you are.
Because, for instance, when I did with Paul together the Trans-Mongolia Express, mainly I was making a website with all the stories and all the pictures, etc., etc. So you have some time in the Trans-Mongolia Express, 7 days, 7 nights on the train. So you have time to write. So for Paul, it was totally natural that I was documenting, let's say, the travels. So writing a book, it was for him like, yeah, okay, yeah, of course, totally normal. Let's say he never said to me like, whoa.
He just takes it all in his stride because he knows the person you are. Yeah.
And it's all in line with the last 20 years. So for him it's logic.
Yeah. You're currently living here in Spain. You're based in Malaga at the moment. Do you see that as a long-term home for you? Do you think you're settled now where you are, or do you see yourself doing some more travelling?
I think for a digital nomad there is never a place to settle and to be permanent. One of the things I write in my book is home is for me not related to an address. Yeah. Home is for me a place where I feel myself comfortable. There is a song, I'm absolutely terribly bad in names, Wherever I Lay My Head.
Oh, Paul Young, yeah,
Paul
I
Young.
remember that, yeah.
I wrote it in the book as well, Paul Young. Yeah. Wherever I lay my head, that's my home. And that is, for me, exactly the same. At this moment, we together with Sylvia, we have 3 places we name home. Apartment here in Spain. It's my house in the east of Hungary, and it's Sylvia's apartment in Budapest. And all the 3 places, for Sylvia and for me, it's home. Where are you going to? Yeah, I'm going home. Yeah, which home? Budapest home. Okay, Budapest home. They are all home.
That's a very interesting point, because my home is here in Spain, but I say I'm going to the UK. And I had a conversation with an English lady the other day, and she said, oh yes, we went home for the summer. She calls this Valencia. Oh, we're in Valencia, but we're going to go home to the UK. And I think that's really interesting, how some people still regard the UK as home, and they have been here like 45 years, so many years. And they still call UK home. Yeah.
For me, the Netherlands is not home anymore. I love my country. It's absolutely a brilliant country, no doubt about it. I never talk negative about my country. But the only thing is, I have my children there, and I have no house over there. So I have no connection with the country anymore. And funnily, I have that connection with Hungary more than with the Netherlands. Because all my own house in the east of Hungary, all my belongings, all my memories, all my pictures, my books, whatever, is all in Hungary. So when from the 3 homes, which one is the A+ home, a little bit more home, then it can be, I think, Hungary.
One question I'd like to ask you: what did you learn about yourself writing the book? Because it's a huge undertaking, writing any book, in my eyes, whether that's your life story, whether it's a romantic book, or it's a huge undertaking.
I don't know if I really can say what I learned myself with writing the book, because writing the book is only doing a job in typing and everything what happened in the last 20 years. So the question could be better, what did you learn in the last 20 years while all your experiences? And the book is only a reflection of all the experiences and what I learned.
But do you regard yourself as a natural storyteller?
Maybe a storyteller, yes, but one absolutely huge task was for me to write it down. That was absolutely a huge job, because I'm going from one story to the other, and when you write a book, then it's absolutely one line from the first page until the last page. I try to do it, but that's for me impossible, because I'm myself not like this. So that's why the book is built up in this way, all the anecdotes in between, because that's me. And okay, if you ask me what did you learn about yourself, maybe this. I think I learned in the last years, it's crazy being 64 years old and then saying, I learned in the last few years that I'm hyperactive. And maybe when I was diagnosed when I was a child, it was ADHD. But yeah, in the past I was a busy child. There was no word for it. Maybe learning with the book is my hyperactivity, never stopping, never relaxing, always continuing, always finding new things to make, to create, to do, to whatever. And maybe that's the learning of the book. That can be.
I think that is a very good answer. You've written 2 books. We've got the Dutch version and we've got the English version. Is there a third book of any description rolling around in your head?
No, not, let's say, not a book about myself, or not a book about experiencing or whatever. There's only one funny thing, and that's a spin-off of this book. This book is published on Amazon. So everybody in the world, wherever you are living, you can order it easily on Amazon. Even the Kindle version. What I learned is how you can publish on Amazon. And there I saw a lot of other books, and I was interested in, because I'm an ITer, so the IT part of Amazon was absolutely attracting me. And I saw so many books, and hey, you can earn money when you are publishing a book. Then there are a lot of tools. You can analyze what's going on Amazon. You can see what a particular book is, what money a particular book is making. And I thought, hey, that's funny. Now 64, when I'm retired 67, I want to continue doing, but maybe writing books in one or the other way, but only with the idea to sell them on Amazon, can be fun. So I figured out that cookbooks, Mediterranean cookbooks, are absolutely a hype on Amazon. I'm an ITer. I'm not going to make all the recipes myself. No. I have a friend online. The friend is named ChatGPT. Okay. And you can ask ChatGPT all kinds of things. Okay, I have to do a lot of things myself, but with ChatGPT, I'm now creating my first cookbook of Mediterranean recipes, 150 recipes in all categories, soups, desserts, main dishes, whatever, sauces, bread. So yeah, that's a spin-off of the book, to figure out how that is working. But wow. Another book in the way of myself or travel or whatever, it's, let's say, not in my mind at this moment.
Is there anything I should have asked you about the book?
No, I think we covered the last 20 years, all the things happened, the story of how, coming from the first decision in October 2005 that I wanted to be location independent, and all kinds of things were happening in that period until now. And even when you ask me, is Fuengirola, where we are living now, the last destination? Not. So the story continues. I think that's the purpose of the book. That's the reason for the book.
Well, congratulations on both books. And with the possibility of the Mediterranean cookbook in the future, that sounds very interesting. Jan, we'll include all the links to Amazon for both books in both languages.
Yep.
And to your blog, so people can keep up with what you're doing.
And I have to thank you, Sheila, because the book was written originally in Dutch. Not in a writing way of Dutch, in the speaking way of Dutch. I translated it, with Google Translate. At that moment, ChatGPT was not existing. And I'm really very grateful that you wanted to read that version, which must have been a terrible version, terrible translation, so now and then. But I'm absolutely very grateful that you wanted to do it. Okay, after you did it, it took me 2 years really to realize, I have to make the book. After you finished, it took 1.5 years before I really started to put everything together. But without you, Sheila, it was not possible to make this book. So thank you so much for doing. And of course, you are in the book.
Am I?
Yeah, of course, as an editor. Come on, first page.
Oh,
My
really?
God.
Oh,
yes.
I'll have to have a look at that. Well, that is so kind of you to say for it. And I have to say, editing someone's book, it's not something I had done before. And I was just blown away by the stories. Yeah, it was an absolute pleasure. It was interesting for me to do. It was definitely a challenge. But yeah, and you've given me a copy, which is absolutely fantastic. So thank you so much. And we'll include all the links to everything with the podcast. And thank you very much for being a guest on the podcast.
Thank you, Sheila.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation, and thank you for listening. So please subscribe for future episodes. It is free. And if you have a story to tell, please contact me on allaboutyoupodcast@yahoo.com and let's tell your story.